Well, looks like it's double obstacles today. It's raining, so I probably won't get to fly the drone, unfortunately. And at the same time, I have a messed up schedule, which probably will be, tomorrow will be like this too. So I didn't know if I had time to do the vlog later today to do all the editing stuff, so I figured I might as well just talk about some stuff now. I can't show this stuff later on tonight because that's the way it is. All those can't show anything, can't talk about anything again. But there was a ton of interesting drone related stuff about things like laws in different countries and even ways to track drones. This first one I read was kind of an example. I guess it's kind of too bad how if the laws are crazy, then it stops regular people just from capturing things for fun and memories, as well as for everyone else to enjoy. I mean, this one here says, one last time over Georgia, drone photography. Georgia introduced new rules restricting the use of drones last month, but obviously someone named, Amos Chappell or something, one of the early pioneers of drone photography, captured the country's diverse landscape from above. And they showed, all these crazy pictures and stuff, which is fantastic. And it's too bad. Like, if people make the laws like that, you can't capture stuff like that anymore. It's a little unfortunate where, again, like even here where I am, it's too bad I didn't know that before, where a lot of the regulations, they weren't actually laws, they were more like guidelines. I would have captured a lot of the scenery probably, like in a safe place, like in the park area, just to capture like the city. Too bad I didn't take advantage of that. Well, who knows, maybe when the regulations are better or there's an option, I'll be able to do things like that too. Kind of shows you though, if you have the opportunity to capture it, you might as well do it, as long as you can do it safe and everything like that. Now here with the regulations and people giving feedback, one of the comments is usually if you make it too ridiculous then no one will follow it. So this one was kind of interesting. It's in a different area. It says drone users faces fine jail terms. And the NBTC pushes to register nearly 50,000 devices. And essentially what they want is people to register their drones, and they have about 90 days to do so. Otherwise they can face up to 5 years in prison or a hefty fine. But the interesting thing, it says here, out of the 50,000 drones, it says only 350 drones out of the total 50,000 has actually been registered. So that makes you wonder if people are just kind of ignoring it or they don't want to do it. Again, it makes you wonder if they make things too restrictive or crazy over the top where people don't agree with it, they'll just ignore the laws in many ways. Which is another reason why you need the balance of something that's actually reasonable. Like here, are things like prison and fines enough to scare people to do that? Or are people still going to say, no, I don't believe in this or whatever, so they're still not going to do it? And I just read this recently, which I think a lot of people will be interested in. It says, DJI unveils technology to identify and track airborne drones. So to my understanding, this is supposed to be able to identify things like the aircraft serial numbers, all with, I guess, the information that's being transmitted through things like the remote control of the DJI product. And it says here, AeroScope uses the existing communications link between drone and its remote control to broadcast identification information such as registration or serial number, as well as a basic telemetry including location, altitude, speed, direction. Police, security agencies, and aviation authorities and other authorized parties can use an AeroScope receiver to monitor, analyze, and act on that information. AeroScope has been installed at 2 international airports since April and is continuing to test and evaluate its performance in other operational environments. It's kind of interesting how I guess DJI is trying to promote this to, I guess, companies, organizations as a way to monitor drones, I suppose, without actually having to have crazy regulations. I mean, as it shows here, it says the receiver can immediately sense a drone as it powers on, the pilot, its location on a map while displaying a registration number. The number functions as the equivalent of a drone license plate, and authorities can use it to determine the registered owner of a drone that raises concerns. In March 2017, in response to growing calls by government worldwide for remote identification solutions, DJI released a white paper describing the benefits of such an approach to electronic identification for drones. It also emphasizes how you don't need an internet connection for this because it's using information essentially from the controller. It doesn't go to any kind of database or anything like that, and at the same time they say you can only get the information if the authority has permission or reason to get that information. It states here, drone identification settings will be included in DJI's initial drone software to allow customers to choose the content of their own drone's identification broadcast to match local expectations both before and after identification regulations are implemented in different jurisdictions. To protect consumers' privacy, the AeroScope system will not automatically transmit any personal identifiable information until registration or policies in the pilot's jurisdictions require it. So I'm trying to imagine this visually. It would be like if I'm flying, for example, I guess some kind of authority figure. They can look at the remote control and say, oh, it's this model serial number of this drone. He's flying at this speed, this height, and they'll have all that info. And they can act on it if they think there's something wrong. I don't know, what do you guys think about that? In some cases, I would say if it eases up things like regulations that it makes sense. At the same time, I can see why, like say, I don't know, like a military, for example, wouldn't even want this in general because the possibility it could be easily compromised, I guess. Like for me, this is just my opinion because I'm usually around tech and stuff all the time and I usually read all like the tech stuff. I mean, in general, if they can get information like that, my only concern personally would be how easy is it to compromise. And you might say like for me, for example, I fly in this area, like what the heck are you gonna get? What kind of information are you gonna get out of that? You want to basically get information of me and my hike here, for example, when I'm flying the drone? Okay, be my guest. But at the same time, it makes me wonder if the control is linked to like the smartphone, for example, that software is compromised somehow. Doesn't that somehow allow people to get information out of your phone and stuff as well? Like that would be my concern about stuff like that personally. Does that make people more excited, I guess, in terms of regulation management for things like drones? Or does it make people more worried to the point where, in terms of like, for example, flying a DJI product, would you be more inclined to just fly another different type of product, for example? Although it is kind of interesting to read the point on how they said it had already been installed in some places in various airports. So it makes you wonder if stuff like that aren't there already. We're just like, a lot of people are just being ignorant about it, saying, oh, I think I have the freedom now, when in reality, probably like a lot of the information is somehow being sent already. I wouldn't doubt it actually. Again, it would explain why people like the military stopped using certain drones and stuff like that. Alright, as I said, really messed up schedule today. Can't talk about anything, can't show anything as usual. You guys know the drill. So I'll have to wrap it up. I guess I'll see you guys later.